YouTube, what's going on, man? It's your boy Xerxes, and today I am stoked that I am able to bring you my build guide for the 3.24 Molten Strike of the Zenith Trickster that I have been playing. Okay, so today we're gonna go over a bunch of stuff, but before we do, I want to put a link up here in the top left corner or top right corner, I guess that would be, that you can check out a video of me killing Uber Exarch in about 4 seconds with this build. Okay, so if you haven't seen that yet, go up here, go up there and take a look at that. That way you can see what the build is capable of. Okay, but without further ado, let's get into some of what we're going to cover today. So first we'll go over what the build costs. We'll go over how Molten Strike functions, how we scale our damage and our defenses. We'll get kind of nerdy in this section, and I'll show you how to calculate your actual DPS, and then we'll go over the gear, the gems, and the skill tree, and then show you some of the differences between the bossing setup and the mapping setup, because there are some changes that you have to make between the two, and then we'll end the video there. Okay, so just want to make sure that I actually am still recording, because I did this once already and screwed up the recording. So we're good to go. Let's get into how much the build costs. Okay, this is all based on today's prices. Today's 4/24/24, and I did a little bit of research and found all the items right here. So if you want to, you can just pause the video and see the breakdown of pretty much what I currently priced at each thing. One thing to note in here is that this is like all of my other armor and stuff. I did craft all of this myself, and I will go over kind of some of that later on in the video. It's probably much cheaper to self-craft this than buy it. Okay, but the total cost of the build, just for reference, is around 350 to 400 divines at today's prices of things. Okay. So how does Molten Strike of the Zenith actually function? Okay, so you have to have a two-hand melee weapon, and what this does is it shoots out a bunch of balls, and the balls deal damage. But the Zenith part of it is that every fifth attack, the projectiles will deal more damage. Okay, and this is scaled with gem quality, so that's why we stack a bunch of gem quality, because this number gets very, very high. Okay, so every fifth attack, extra proj, more damage with hits and ailments. It does convert 60% of the fizz damage that we do to fire, but we don't really care about that because we don't do any fizz damage at all. Okay, so this is how the build functions, or the skill functions, I should say. Now, what do we do to scale our damage, right? Because like I said, we're not doing any physical damage, so how are we dealing any damage? We're using Energy Blade, and what this does is it sacrifices a portion of your energy shield to give you flat lightning damage to your weapon. So whatever two-hand weapon you have in there, it just turns it into Energy Blade. So it doesn't matter what you have, as long as it's a two-hand melee weapon with the right colors, it will turn into Energy Blade, and it'll give you a minimum and a maximum amount of lightning damage that it will do. Okay, so that's how we get our flat damage. Obviously, we want some attack speed, because getting to that fifth attack that does, a metric fuck ton of damage, it means that the faster we get there, the more DPS we do. Now, when we get to like Uber bosses specifically, and just anything that has a lot of health, we actually scale our damage by having less area of effect and slower proj, because the balls are going to go out and then they're going to come back and they can shotgun. So if you have a smaller area in which they can do that, more balls will be hitting one target, and you'll get a more damage multiplier based on that. So we do get more projectiles through 1 point on the tree and a dying sun. And then, like I said, Ashes of the Stars that gives gem quality helps the Zenith proc deal an insane amount of damage. So that's how we're scaling our damage. Okay. Defenses, it's not like the absolute tankiest build in the world, but with some of this stuff, I feel pretty good. I've been able to do Wave 30 Simulacrum a million times and not die. So it's like it can take most stuff that you throw at it. Degens are kind of the one exception there. But anyway, we have 100% spell suppress. We get that via some gear, passive tree, and tattoos. 92% chance to evade. We get that from Grace and Defiance Banner, and we also have some blind on hit tattoos. The Trickster Ascendancy itself gives us Escape Artist, which is a shit ton of evasion and energy shield, and Soul Drinker gives us Overleach for our energy shield. So as long as we're able to do damage, our energy shield leech is through the roof. We become ailment immune via a Storm Shroud Jewel and a Avoid Being Shocked suffix on a flask with a Mage Blood and increased effect. So one flask makes us completely ailment immune, which is huge. We have a Corrupted Magic Jewel with Corrupted Blood immunity, so CB cannot be put on us. And then we have 21% less physical and fire damage taken via Arctic armor. And then we have Fizz taken as chaos, and I actually forgot to put this in here, but we have extra Fizz taken as fire as well on our helmet. So we have 14, I believe, % less physical damage taken from those two. And then while we have our frost shield up, that thing takes 20% of the incoming damage for us as well. So a lot of damage mitigation layers on this build for sure. Now, how to calculate your actual DPS. This is going to be a part of the video that gets kind of nerdy and in-depth and a lot of numbers going on. So if you're not worried about that, you can always just fast forward. But first things first, I want to shout out to Big Ducks because he is the one that I initially kind of got the idea for this build from. And he posted a link to a calculator, which I will as well post in the description below. So you guys can use that to calculate your DPS. Okay, so the site that I'm talking about is this one right here. And this one kind of goes over some stuff, how to actually calculate your DPS. Okay, so what you're going to need for this is you're going to need to go into your POB. So let's find that right here. And we're going to go to our bossing character because this is what we're looking for. Okay, so once you load in your POB, you're going to go to the calcs section and make sure that you have Molten Strike of the Zenith selected and Magma Balls Fifth Attack. That's important. Okay, and what you're looking for is this box right here, the one that says projectiles, radius, and tertiary radius. These are the numbers that you need. Okay, so you can see radius is 9, tertiary is 1.3, and projectiles is 12. Okay, so what we're going to go over here, radius, that's that 9 that we were talking about. So you're going to put 9 there. The tertiary 1.3, we put that as 13, right? And then the point blank we have on the tree, so we do select that. And then just so you guys know how I was talking earlier about scaling less damage actually means more DPS. What I mean by that is, let's say that this was 25, okay, and we hit enter. This number over here, total chance to hit an enemy per ball, is 43.5%. So that means that you're missing half of the hits if you have more AoE. So having a less number over here, like 13, means that now we're hitting 90% of our balls that we throw out. Okay, and this is on the boss size right here. So if you're fighting someone like Maven, maybe this might be like a 2, honestly. So you might lose some DPS on Maven because she's so small. But if you're fighting any of the bigger Uber bosses, it's going to be on 3, and you're going to be at 90%. All of these numbers are important when I'm going to go over this calculation here in a second. Okay, so the calculation is as follows. Okay, so you take your total number of projectiles, which could vary based on your build, but for us it's 12. And you're going to multiply that by the number of multi-strike hits. Okay, so for us, multi-strike hits 3 times, so now you end up with 36. Now you're going to take that number and then you multiply it by the percentage of chance to hit on the tree. So, and then you add those two numbers together. So for us, that would be 36, our initial number. We multiplied this by 0.9, which is 90%. We got 32. Then you're going to take those, add them together, and that's 68. Okay. The last thing to do in order to calculate your damage is to make sure that if you're looking for Uber boss DPS, make sure this is selected. And then you're going to look at this average damage number right here. Okay. So for us, it's 1.371 million. And you take the 68, multiply it by that, and then this gives you your total Uber boss DPS, which for us in this case is 93 million. So we're over 90 million Uber boss DPS. On Pinnacle bosses, this is like over 300 million DPS. So if you're fighting anything that's like regular Eater, regular Exarch, they are just going to absolutely go bye-bye. It's insane. Okay, so that is how you calculate your DPS. Now, we will go in-game, and we're going to go over the gear, the gems, and the skill tree. So let's do that right now. Look at this ultimate badass of a character right here, man. I love this dude. Looks sick. Anyway, we're going to go piece by piece, and we will talk about some things along the way. So basically for any piece of armor gear that you have, you're looking for intelligence, you're looking for energy shield, and you're looking for resistances where you can get them. Okay, and then anything else I will go over. Okay, so for here, like I said, energy shield, resistance, fizz taken as fire, fizz taken as chaos, reduced mana cost of attacks. Like you can't really get much better than this unless everything was T1. Okay, which it almost is, except for the fire res, which I don't need. So this is a very good helm. And in here, we're running Ancestral War Chief with multi-totems, Ancestral Protector, and Vol Cold Snap. I only use Vol Cold Snap while mapping to generate some extra frenzy charges. Bossing, you don't need this at all. You can take that out, okay? Like I said, the weapon will just get turned into an energy blade. So as you can see, if I turn this energy blade off, I have 8,895 energy shield. If I turn it on, it goes down to 5,871. And that's what gives us all of this flat lightning damage. And in here, we're running Energy Leech support with Awakened Lightning Pin, Molten Strike of the Zenith, Multi-Strike, Volatility, and LE damage with attacks awakened. This is important for if you ever run any elemental reflect maps. This makes you immune to reflected elemental damage, so you can do those maps. The one thing that I will say is that if you are using Leap Slam, you need to take Brutality, which is right here, and link that to Leap Slam, because your totems aren't going to matter, but your Leap Slam, if I don't have Brutality in there, my Leap Slam does 2680 to 53,000 lightning damage. So if you have LE Reflect, this will just kill you immediately. So if you ever run any LE Reflect maps, just put Brutality in place of Defiance Banner and you'll be fine. Okay. The Shavron's Revelation is an absolute like giga chat of a ring for super cheap. Like I said, I have 5,871. If I take this off, I have 4,778. So this one ring gives me 1,100 energy shield. Absolutely nuts. The body armor, I crafted this last night. Actually very easy to craft, or maybe I got really lucky, I don't know, but for me it was easy. I just did increased defenses and then -1 explicit and more prefix chance, and then I put 300% chance to fracture, and I just got all T1 of everything, which is just crazy. So this is pretty much like best in slot. The only thing that I would need to change is the suppress to get a little bit more suppressed, but other than that, you're good. And on here, you want to put increased effect of non-aura curses or non-curse auras, excuse me, and melee hits have a chance to fortify. Fortify is just an extra layer of defense that I actually did not put in there as well. So we do have fortify as well. Ashes of the Stars, like I mentioned, you want to get one with as close to 30% quality as you can. I'll probably end up buying one with 30 quality, just because that would be even more damage for us. So, and we allocate or anoint Arcane Focus in here. So as you can see, with Molten Strike of the Zenith, typically this would do every 5th attack goes up to 510% more damage with hits and ailments, but because we're scaling so much quality, this actually gives us every 5th attack deals 1,310% more damage. So that 5th attack is where the magic happens, okay? So this is very important, and it's not super expensive this league, so that's good. Nemesis, okay, this doubles your damage right off the bat. If you cannot afford this, what you can do is put like a energy shield ring in here or something that you need to fix your stats, and then you're going to take off energy leech and put in a green socket with slower proj, or not slower proj, excuse me, returning proj. So you'd put returning proj there, and that's how you get by. I did that for a long time for the first couple of days of the build without Nemesis, and the build felt fine. Does a little bit less damage, but you need it. You need it if you don't have a Nemesis, I should say. Same thing with the gloves here, just energy shield, some res, attack speed, and the important one here is the non-val strike skills target 2 additional enemies. Helps feel really good for mapping. If you're running like simulacrums and stuff, you can even drop one of these and put in Awakened Ancestral Call, and you'll be hitting like six enemies with one attack. So it feels pretty good if you're doing stuff where you're going to get absolutely surrounded by enemies. Maybe like T17s, you could even do it too, but I haven't had any problems not using this on T17s and just absolutely annihilating them. So on to the Mage Blood. One thing to note in this build is that strength is very hard to come by, and so you need to run like attribute increased on anything that has strength on it, pretty much. So that's why I did attribute modifiers here. Same here. Even like that extra couple all attributes that it gave me came in clutch. And then on the boots, same thing. Int, energy shield, move speed, cold res, brittle ground for some extra crit chance, and that covers all of the oh wait, you know what, we'll go over the flasks. Bismuth flask for resistances and evasion. We're using a sulfur flask for crit, a silver flask for chance to avoid being shocked. This is what gives us 100% ailment immunity. As you can see, we have 106% chance to ignite, chill, or not chance, but chance to avoid ignite, chill, and shock. So we can't be shocked, chilled, or ignited. And it's all from this one flask, which is just absolutely crazy. And the Storm Shroud, I should say. And then we just have a Jade Flask with attack speed. Now, the important thing to note here too is that I'm running a Dying Sun here that has used when you hit a rare unique enemy. This is for mapping. If I'm bossing, I use this Dying Sun, which, as you can see here, the difference between these two is that this one has 15% AoE and this one has 10, right? And so the 10% AoE is actually very important when you go back and look at that tertiary number in the calculations. When I had this one on, I actually went up to 1.4 instead of 1.3, and that 0.1 is actually a very big difference. So I use this for bossing to have even less area. Okay, that covers all of the gear. Now what we'll do is we'll go into the passive tree. So basically what we're doing here is we're getting anything that has like energy shield. So we're getting some an int, right? So I'll just go over here and kind of talk about some of the important stuff. Start with the Watcher's Eye. How about that? Like I said, strength is important. It's hard to come by. So these Watcher's Eyes give you, or not Watcher's Eyes, Lethal Pride gives you strength for all of these. And then I actually needed one that had 20 strength on it. So got the 20 strength here. And then anything else that you're looking for is like chance to deal double damage, increase crit chance, chance to intimidate on hit is really good. And so as you can see, I was able to get double damage, crit chance, intimidate on hit, armor, which does nothing, and then some strength. So this one was actually pretty good. I got this for like 3 divines or something like that. So not super expensive, really good for the build. We are running 3 cluster jewels in this setup, and they all should pretty much be the same, just like this: Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fight, Martial Prowess. So there's one here, there's one here. This one actually has Blood Scent on it, so this is for mapping as well. You can get rage on hit, so by the time you're done with the map, you end up having 50 rage, and it's just even more than something like Martial Prowess. And this one up here, which I got with some strength on it because I was 1 strength shy for my requirement, and so I needed a new cluster jewel, so I got some strength here. Very important. The Watcher's Eye that I'm using is just a suppress Watcher's Eye because it's very hard to get suppress capped, and I'm even using some suppress tattoos as well, but I am at 100% suppress now. And then this has a little bit of energy shield recovery rate as well. Now the jewels, like I said, this is the Adorned. You do need at least 125%. That's the bare minimum. Can't go any less than that. And then you're just looking for 8% increased energy shield and 16 intelligence. So as you can see from this one jewel, I'm getting 36 int, 18% max energy shield, and 18 crit chance, which is just crazy. And then this one is the Corrupted Blood one. I got increased energy shield area damage because finding one with ES, Int, and Corrupted Blood, they were like 75 divines, and I was like, I'm not going to spend that much. So this one still works out because Molten Strike of the Zenith is an AoE or area skill. And then these next two are just the same: Int, ES, Int, ES, and this one is the Storm Shroud that gives us the ailment immunity. So that covers that. I will link the POBs down in the description below. I'm going to put 2 different links. One of them will be for the bossing setup, and one of them will be for the mapping setup. Okay, so that covers all of the gear, the gems, and the skill tree. Now what we're going to do. Okay, last thing is bossing versus mapping. Okay, so as you can see here, we are on the bossing character, and I'll go over some of the differences, right? So it's pretty simple. Every time that you want to do some uber bosses, you're going to have to spend I think it's like 8 regrets, something like that. It's not too bad. And you don't have to do this. This is just if you want to maximize your DPS. And I would say on Ubers, it's probably worth it. Okay. So in the mapping setup, we have this tree here. So we're going to get rid of those points, and we have these points allocated in that tree as well. So we get rid of those points, and what we do is we end up putting them here for some energy shield leech. So as you can see, I'm at 2,217 ES leech on hit, right? So if I take this wheel off, I go down to 1,100. So this basically, in essence, gives us an extra 1,100 ES leech rates, which is just crazy. So as long as you're not getting one shot, if you're standing there, like last night I was fighting Uber Eater, and those tentacles came up, and I had a frost shield up, and I was hitting her, and that thing just the tentacles just barely tickled me a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is nice. So definitely worth doing on some Uber bosses. And then the last thing that we do, like I said, you need less prod speed, less area. We take these 3 right here, and this is how we're able to get to that 1.3 tertiary radius, right? So this is the bossing setup. I will quickly show you what I was talking about with the mapping setup. which I said, these these wheel here, and then we have these points that I was mentioning here and here on the mapping tree, okay? And now in game, the only thing that you change on your character is you're going to want slower proj on your setup. So what you'll do is, I have one weapon that has a green socket in it, so I just take these out and I'll end up putting less slower proj in here, and then everything else will be the same except for energy leech. So energy leech would be the one that I do not include in here. And then, like I said, I put the dying sun in here for the increased effect, which gives us an extra proj, and the less AoE. That's all I switch on my gear when I'm doing uber bosses. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of the differences between the two, and I will include the POBs in each different version down in the description below. So bossing and mapping, that's done, and that's it. I think I did pretty good job of covering everything that I wanted to cover. But if you guys do have any questions about anything on this build, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to help. I've been having a blast with this build and kind of problem solving and min-maxing and doing all that. So it's been a blast for me. I really enjoyed it, and hope you guys enjoyed the video as well. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button for me. It would help me out a lot. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and then go and follow me over on Twitch. I'm going to start streaming on Twitch here pretty soon at The One True Xerxes. That's going to be my Twitch thing. So with that, I will leave the video there, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thanks for checking out the video. I'll catch you later. Peace out.